Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Well, welcome everybody. It's not Steve, it's Becky Brown, and I am joined by Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Dr. Jill Hubbard, and we're going to take some calls today. But you know, this is Holy Week, and we are focused on the trip through all of the things that happen from Palm Sunday to Resurrection Sunday. And it really is just such a great time to reflect on what Christ has done for you. You know, Maundy Thursday, there's a couple of different things, you know, everything from Judas' betrayal to Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and just the recognition that Jesus knows our sorrows and knows what we've been through. And, you know, it's interesting. Jacqui, you just had major surgery. You just were telling me about it.
Yeah.
And maybe share with the audience about, you know, what you've learned through this grieving time, this overwhelming time.
Yeah, I fell roller skating and broke my leg and my shoulder. Broke my shoulder in two places and just really tore it up. Cartilage, ligaments, tendons, everything. And so it pretty much had to be reconstructed. And before I fell, I had this thought. And the thought was, man, I hope I can always take care of myself. As people may have heard before, I am a recovering emotional avoider, and I tend to think I can do everything for myself, and I'm pretty independent. Well, when you break your leg and your shoulder, you have to have help. And there were lots of people around to help me, and I kept saying, I don't know what this is about, except for I'm going to learn something. I have to learn something. And I've been sitting and listening, and one of the things I had to learn was how to ask for help and how to receive help, but also I'd been praying for healing. I have fibromyalgia, been in chronic pain for about 15 years, and I am in less pain now than I was before I fell. And the doctor said there was more damage than he expected, and that is because he found bone spurs and a bunch of other inflammation and bursa and other things that he had to clean out of there that were there before the fall. And I've been saying I hurt less after the fall than I did before the fall, and that sounds really weird to everyone else. And so I just said, it's just the grace of God. God loves me, and so he knows I don't like pain very much. So even though I had broken bones, I haven't been in pain. And that's
that is amazing.
That is amazing.
Right? And how often you hear where people have a sudden thing that happens and it actually saves their life from something else because then the doctors are looking.
I would have never gone to the doctor up on my shoulder because I have fibromyalgia, so I wouldn't have thought of bone spurs or bursitis.
Well, and so that's the weird connection I had with the Maundy Thursday scriptures. I mean, not that you're Jesus, but here's the thing, Jacqui, you didn't even know, you know, how hard this was to be, you know, to go through it. Yep. But at the end of it, it was for good.
It was for good.
And when
he meant it from
Yeah. And
I always say God doesn't waste anything. No. And he took what was difficult and challenging and made it beautiful, because people have loved on me these past couple of months. People have driven me around. People have helped me. People have sent cards and prayed with me and for me. And I'm healing and not in pain. I'm in less pain today than before I fell. That's the grace of God.
And the thing about, like, you know, when we think about Maundy Thursday, the disciples didn't know that Jesus was going to rise again.
Right.
He didn't, you know, they didn't know that was the plan.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling today, know that God's working a plan.
Yes.
He, you know, he knew. And even when Jesus is asking, you know, take this cup from me, he trusted the Father with his will.
Yes.
And boy, we benefit from that. I mean, just the gift of Jesus' resurrection in our life, it is... there are just no words for it. And so I thank you so much for sharing that, though, Jacqui. It's encouraging.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, not my will, Lord, but your will be done. When you know and trust God, sometimes you can't see the end, but just take that one little step that he's lighting ahead of you.
Amen. We'll be right back after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, I completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Orange County, California, May 13th to the 15th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Dr. Jill Hubbard taking your calls, and we are going to talk to Naomi, who's calling us from San Diego, California. She watches on YouTube, and you can too. And if you are watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, maybe share a show with a friend. I think it'll just make a difference in so many people's lives. But Naomi, right now we want to make a difference in your life. How can we help you today?
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for taking my call. I guess I'll just start with my question. How do I, or am I even allowed to regain a sense of balance or happiness in my life? I guess that's my question.
Well, we want to know some background on that, Naomi. That's a pretty loaded question. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you're asking the question?
I just feel like a big hot mess. I'm a single mom. My son, he has ADHD, and I'm divorced for about 3 years, and I feel so overwhelmed. I'm always broke. I don't really ever have time to myself. I can't hold down a job because my son's dad is constantly changing the schedule. So, it's just been a lot for me. This is not how I had planned on my life turning out. I'm feeling lots of sadness, lots of just feeling very invisible, even in the church. Church wives don't know what to say to me. My friends who are just married, they have no kids. They don't understand what it's like to be a single mom. I'm feeling really overwhelmed, and it's hard for me sometimes to hear from God. I listened to the last radio program where I believe Dr. Sherry said some things when you're feeling just really down. It's really hard sometimes to pick up the Bible. Yesterday, I felt so ashamed because I just blew up. I blew up in front of my son, and I just started throwing things just at the wall because I feel so overwhelmed. And that saying where people are like, oh, well, God doesn't give you anything that you can't handle. It's so much, and there's nobody. I just feel so alone and invisible and unimportant to everyone.
Well, we are so glad you called. Oh, Naomi, it's hard. It is. You've just explained a lot of the reasons why you feel that way. But let's hear what Jill and Jacqui have to offer for you.
Well, Naomi, my heart goes out to you, and I do understand this pain, having been a single mom with ADHD kids, one of them being a son, and all those feelings that you're feeling. It's a really hard place to be. And real quick, how long were you married?
Well, we were together for about 12 years.
12 years. Okay. So what happens too in divorce that people don't realize is that so many of your dreams die along with the marriage, right? First of all, the fact that it ends in divorce, it didn't go how you envisioned, right? And no matter how hard you try, one person cannot make a marriage. And so then to end up in a position that you never wanted to be, and then there are so many thoughts during this grief process, which lasts way longer than most people realize. Like, you're 3 years in. I remember Steve and I talking about how it's a good 5 years to feel like, okay, I'm getting kind of myself back. I'm feeling more like a human being again. And when it's something you never wanted, you do feel relegated to this category. I mean, I remember thinking, okay, here I am on the radio. I'm divorced. You have to show up at church alone. And I felt like I had a big D on my forehead, right? That like I couldn't even say the word divorce, Naomi, for several years. Like it would just stick in my throat. Because it felt so like what I didn't want for my life. And so it is a hard journey, and we don't know how to be in this new category. And so and you're right, so many people don't understand, and they don't want to touch it, right? Because they don't want to be in your category. But you have to find a few friends. You have to reach out to some friends that do care about you, that have been at least semi-supportive. And you have to create a community, even if they're married and they don't get it, right? Part of it is we need people to walk through life together. And I know for me, I had to ask a few friends to be my support system. And I met with them every week. We met for an hour just to talk about me and my struggle and to have support. And you know what? God so used that. That group, they're my 3 closest friends to this day. And they weren't necessarily close with each other, but they came together to support me, and they could commit to an hour a week. And so taking that step to create community, it's hard. It's hard, but unless you ask, because see, when other people are not hungry, when they don't have a need, it doesn't occur to them. They don't know what it's like to hand your kid over to this person who has hurt you, and then you're all alone. They don't know what that's like. And so you have to, even in your shame, reach out and say, I need somebody. I need some connection here. And that's in good. Sharing the struggle, right? Then, eventually they started to share their struggles too. And now we share all of our struggles together. But they really carried me through that. And I always say they're my husband. They're my parenting partners that I can bounce things off of.
You created your own village.
That's good.
Village.
That's good.
Yeah.
And the question you asked was, do you deserve or have a right to creating balance in your life again? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's a must. It's a must. Naomi, I wonder what kind of support have you sought for yourself as far as like, are you working with a counselor? Have you, like what Jill said, with a group? But, I wonder, you need support. Being a single mom is hard. Being,
really hard,
on your own and dealing with the frustration. And that's where those blow-ups come from. And now you're feeling bad because of the blow-up. But I want you to see it as a sign, I need some help. Yeah. I need to ask for help. So that's why you called us today. And I think that's a good step in the right direction. But I just wondered if you are seeing a counselor, if you've ever thought about doing that.
Well, I've done divorce care. I actually did the emotional healing workshop.
Good.
I was doing counseling, but it got expensive. Like I said, I'm always broke because being a parent is so hard. I wear shirts that have holes in them. It's just hard. So, I'm so grateful for, New Life is a lifeline. I can listen, and sometimes I can call in. It's embarrassing sometimes because I feel like I'm the one who's the biggest mess, in of Jesus's kids. And I just want to hear from God. I really want to be victorious, and I don't want my son to grow up thinking, my mom was always angry and upset and frustrated. I've never seen her smile. This is not me.
Right.
And I just really want to get over this. Yeah.
Right.
So
So Naomi,
I'm just looking for more help.
so part of it too, in the protest lasts a long time where we protest what has happened to us. And you have to get to a place where you say what my wise attorney said to me, it is what it is. And I always want to say, but, what about this? Jill, it is what it is. And so getting to a place where, no, it's not what you would have chosen, but it is what it is. So now what am I going to do?
Because once we get to that place of acknowledging what is currently, then we can start looking at how to make that different.
Right.
But you've got to settle on, this is where we are right now. I don't
Right.
have the finances that I need. My child has ADHD, and this is hard. And there's not good, co-parenting happening here. What needs to change? And then you start to name the things that you want to work on and prioritize those things. And that's a lot because you're already overwhelmed.
Right.
In
And
the
you're
state
still
you're in.
grieving.
And you're still grieving.
You're
This
still
was
grieving.
a loss.
Yeah.
This was a loss. And we don't think of divorce or job loss and things like that as something people grieve, but you're mourning the death of your marriage and all the dreams that you had about raising your children together and travel and whatever your dreams were. You are grieving all of that, and that's overwhelming and painful, and people don't understand because they're not in it with you. And as Jill said, when we're not in need, we don't necessarily recognize someone else's need.
Right.
If it's not a thing I would think to do for myself, I may not notice you need that thing. I may never think of that because it's not something I would need.
Right.
And so the feeling invisible, some of that is coming from people just don't know what they don't know. And also people are not, like you said, Jill, they don't want to be in that position, so they're afraid to touch it and get too close to it. But hopefully you have some people out there who can be in your corner and who can come alongside you.
And here's the headline, Naomi. You are loved by God. He is not disappointed in you. He loves you and he cares for you. And I
Yes.
think Jacqui or Jill, you must have said this earlier on a show, you have to have the community so that you can experience God in other people. And so one of those ways of doing that is becoming part of a church community. That it's not going to be perfect every single time, but boy, creating that community around you and around your son so that when you do have him on the weekends, it's this normal thing. This is just the routine that we do. And little by little, it's going to reinforce your life. It's going to give you that strength that you need to do these other things. And there's all kinds of things that, we can point out as far as like ask for help, to kind of get your finances secure, all those kind of things. But to start there is too much right now. You're feeling the whole of, I don't feel like I've done anything right. And I just want you to know it's okay that you're struggling, but you don't have to stay there.
Well, right. And I think if you could try to refrain from beating yourself up, right? We all acknowledge, Naomi, that you're in a really difficult spot. And even in the secular world, they've done stats on what happens in divorce situations. And women's socioeconomic status goes down like by 75%, while men's goes up slightly. And the increase of upset in the home goes up because being a single mom is so hard and you don't have the resources. So you're not alone in that. And so I want you to not beat yourself up because that doesn't help you.
Yeah,
right?
It's just
like,
sucking
okay,
energy.
yeah, it's sucking energy. So I'm doing the best I can today, right? And you have to make lots of amends to your kid as well to say, mom's having a hard time, but it's not you. So you remind them that it's not you and that you love them and that you want them to have a voice here too, to let you know when maybe you're coming on too strong.
And you said your child has ADHD. Do you have support around that? Is there support at school or in the community for him?
How old is your son?
He's 7.
Okay.
I don't have any family around here. My friends are sparse. I think because I've been in this situation for so long, it's like they don't want to hear it. So
Right.
And then I think someone said something about the weekends. I have my son every day. So
Yes,
as far
that's
as
what
him
I
getting a
figured.
break, that's
Yeah. And so
Right, but that's why I mentioned if you have a church community around you, Naomi, we're talking, this is a rebuilding of your life. Mm-hmm. This isn't, you're not always going to be in this place. And that's
believe
where
it
you
or
have to
not,
get
it's true.
Yes.
Believe it or not,
It
Naomi,
is
I
true.
am living proof that it's true.
That's it.
And it is
That's
a
it.
trauma, okay? But
You're not
can
doing this
survive
wrong.
it.
You're
Yeah.
not doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
It's just hard.
It is hard, and
Yeah.
just one step at a time. We're going to send her a copy of Take Your Life Back. And, I hope that something that we said will encourage you today, Naomi. We're going to be praying for you.
Mm-hmm.
It calls to mind what you said, Jill. We need to pay attention to the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
If you
I
see a
know.
need, fulfill that need.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for help if you need help. And if somebody asks you for help, say, yeah, I'd be happy to. And we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. A lot of people are you could literally say, in bondage from past trauma that has created an emotional web that they don't understand, and it prevents them from being free. A person that loses their temper regularly is not emotionally free. Someone who has anxiety just to get in the car and leave the house is not emotionally free. And walking around with the shame from a childhood or even a bad relationship as an adult, that is not emotional freedom, and we can help you get there.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Workshop is Saturday, April 30th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris will present information on the power of our emotions, procrastination, guilt and shame, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or register online at newlife.com. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so glad you're here today. And, life is hard, and that's why we are so grateful for help. And it's hard sometimes to ask for help, but we're glad you called, Naomi. And, we're just going to continue to pray for help and connection there.
Yeah.
And we're going to go.
Well, can I just say, I know I have a lot to say on this topic, but just a reminder that when you can't afford therapy, there are those wonderful 12-step groups or Life Recovery or Celebrate Recovery, and sometimes you just need to go to any group possible for that containment, and so that you have a combination of friends, but you don't wear them out with the amount of need that you need to talk. You can go to those anonymous groups and talk your heart out.
Right. And one of the things that we say at those anonymous groups is keep coming back because it works. And right now we're going to go to Thomas, who's calling us from Austin, Texas, listens on Alexa. And we're happy you called. Thomas, how can we help you today?
Hi, yes. Thanks so much for taking my call. I've had a long battle with obsessive compulsive disorder and depression, and currently I'm 29. I'm still living at home. I'm not currently employed. I've been that way since maybe 2017 after graduating college. And basically I'm doing a lot of things like therapy, and I'm starting to do mindfulness, journaling. I'm doing exposure and response prevention, or I'm trying to. It's difficult, but I mean, I'm a pretty severe case as far as having had, just like hundreds and hundreds of obsessive thoughts per day and mental, compulsions, and also probably some social anxiety and some other kind of maybe more physical checking compulsions. And so I'm doing a lot. I mean, I'm doing therapy, mindfulness, all these different things, and I'm just wondering, it's a long process, and I'm trying, but I'm struggling to like put everything together, and I'm kind of scared, like almost even to leave the house and to kind of become independent, and kind of I think too there may be some like emotional deprivation in my childhood that might be feeding into it. I don't know, but I just feel like there's some members of my family don't really have emotionally, they don't kind of have like a blind spot, or they don't really see, I don't know how to describe it, but they don't really see people's emotional needs really, and but they provide materially very well, but the emotional is not really there. So I'm just wondering, like, I'm just very anxious around people and everything, and I'm just wondering, how do I, like, is there a way to speed up this process and like break out of this like OCD prison that I'm in?
Oh, Thomas, we're so glad you called. It's such a tough place to be in, but I think there is hope and there is help. It may take longer than you want it to. Obviously, you'd like it to be done. But Jill or Jackie, who wants to start?
Thomas, as you were talking and you were asking, is there a way to like speed up the process? I thought this is partially, some of this is who you are and how your brain works. And I think that there may be a need for, you mentioned doing some mindfulness, maybe exploring acceptance and commitment as well, because there may be some of this that is a need to accept your particular temperament, and that it might be an ongoing challenge of the checking in and the managing the thoughts, and eventually, with OCD, like eventually you lose maybe one of the tics or one of the obsessive thoughts or compulsions, and then there's the next one, and then there's the next one, and then there's the next one. And so it may be an ongoing process, but I think some of the freedom comes in the acceptance of, my brain works this way, not necessarily I'm bad, broken, damaged. My brain works this way. It can be exhausting sometimes, so let me come up with some tricks to address that, or to work with myself rather than against myself by trying to force a stop. And so the anxiety piece is what I'm thinking I'm focused on right now, is just accepting that it's telling you something, there's a need you're trying to get met, and exploring internally what the need is in that particular moment, which I think you're doing with the mindfulness. But I would just give yourself grace and understand that your brain isn't neurotypical, and so it's going to manage information differently than the next person would. And you have to come up with systems that work for you, which you've done, but they've become disruptive now. And so now we need to back and find some more natural responses rather than the compulsive responses.
That's such a great phrase. Thomas, what do you think just of what Jackie just said? That I'm not bad, broken, or damaged?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I was just struggling to accept myself, and yeah, I'd say my temperament. I'm definitely a more introverted person. I think maybe struggling to accept that, or just I think I struggle to accept the way that I am.
And that's a big part of it, because society has an expectation of you, and we buy into those expectations, and that then can make it hard for us to accept ourselves when we may be neurodivergent. And that neurodivergence, people don't understand, and so it makes us maybe feel a little isolated. And so if you can accept yourself, then there's at least one less piece of isolation, because now you're tuned into you. Then you're more likely to be able to encounter others, and I would do that slowly, one person at a time. It's okay that you're an introvert.
Right. Well, and Thomas, hold on. We'll be back and we'll hear from Jill. But I'm glad you called, and it is tough, but I think that we can get you moving in that right direction. We'll be right back.
I lost my mother, and then her brother, and then my sister, and then my husband, and then I lost my best friend.
Are you overwhelmed by the intense feelings of grief, shock, denial, anger, guilt, sadness, depression? You're not alone.
When we lose people and there is grief, and then with each subsequent grief or loss that happens, it's a snowball effect.
The New Life Transforming Grief online workshop is Saturday, May 7th. You'll get tools to help you understand and process your grief and a community to travel through the valley with you. Let New Life help you process your loss, begin a journey of acceptance, and learn how to extend the comfort you've received to help others grieve and rebuild their lives too. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-639-5433, or online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Dr. Jill Hubbard, and we're talking with Thomas. And Thomas,
and
we're going to hear from Jill now.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in. So, Thomas, a few things we were thinking about at the break. First of all, the fact that you went to college is a pretty big deal, given everything that you've described, and that you've been very proactive in seeking different types of therapies that really are beneficial. So I was curious if you have been using any medication or working with a psychiatrist on some of these issues as well.
Yes,
okay.
I am.
I figured you probably were, since you were doing all these things, because of the genetic component to OCD. It often really runs in families, and so meds can be really effective. And then also with the depression, and then even with social anxiety, medication can be helpful. But that's just one piece of it. So again, all the other things you are doing are really good. I think in addition to that, I would add in maybe doing some work on how you described your family as not being very emotional. And what is it like to be a kid that grows up in a family that isn't very emotional or responsive to emotions? Because we all have them, right? And so when you're left alone with your feelings, you can feel like something's wrong with you, especially the family's not addressing it, so why am I even having these feelings? And so I would hope also that as part of your therapy, you would look at some of the feelings that you had growing up and how that plays out now, and maybe impact some of the fears you may have in reaching out relationally. We were also talking about, I think, Jackie, you were saying before the break, because you're an introvert, that means you don't need to be in crowds of people, right, and that would be way too overwhelming. But to be in situations where there's just a few people. And I even known there to be therapy groups where for people with social anxiety or difficulties connecting, where they work on those skills together with a therapist. And that can be a really helpful tool, right, to help you, because you have to face some of your fears, right, just like with exposure therapy, and do it anyway, right?
And some of it is the way we think about others.
Yes.
Right? And so also addressing your own thinking. If you kind of anxiously maybe judge or catalog a person when you are in a room with them, then you're going to be thinking they're doing that too. And quite honestly, not all of us are. So sometimes you're worried about how someone must be seeing you because that's how you're playing the script in your head. The story you're telling yourself might not match the story they're telling themselves. So being in that group can help process that. You can role play. You can talk through, what are you thinking about me? Oh, that's not what I was thinking. And I think that could be really helpful. I really like that idea of trying to find a social skills development group.
Yeah, for social anxiety.
Well, what I was going to say to that too, Jill, Thomas, do you have a therapist that you have connected with? Do you feel confident and connected to your therapist?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, because the reason why I asked that is because they will be a great resource for you. And also the process of, maybe setting some goals. I'm wondering, I think it's really great that you went to college as well, and I'm wondering what you were hoping for past college. What did you envision for your life?
Or what did you study?
What's your major?
Philosophy.
Okay. So you're a thinker.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to overthink a lot of things, which is part of the OCD as well. Right?
I was just thinking, good choice, right? Because that's kind of how your mind works, right? So now you think on ideas and philosophize and make meaning and determinations. Just your brain. Your brain is a really special organ, and we don't typically think about how much work it does. It controls everything in the body. I don't know if you even put those things together, but I think being a philosophy major and being someone with high anxiety, especially social anxiety, they seem to just go together because you're thinking so much all the time. You think other people are thinking that much all the time too.
And they're often not.
They're often not. They're often not. Yes.
Right.
But there's so many. There's so many jobs too that you can pursue, and with so many things being remote, as an introvert and someone who struggles with these things, I think there are still things that you could do.
And that's why I asked about the connection with the counselor too, because I think that you can enlist that as a goal. Going back to what you said, Jacqui, about, accepting the situation and then moving forward with, this is who I am. How can I use this to create the life that I want?
Absolutely.
And Thomas, we're going to send you, what would you guys suggest? I have an idea, but no ideas? That's what I was thinking. Healing is a choice. So yeah, we'll send you Healing is a Choice, Thomas, and hope that something we said will encourage you. But I love, just the idea of acceptance can make all the difference in your world today. And I see that Larry's in the room. So, Larry, I would love to hear what you have to say about accepting all of us. No.
We don't have time.
No, it's a big job.
Exactly.
I want our folks to accept that they've got one more day to sign up for Emotional Freedom and get $100 off the registration fee. Sign up by tomorrow, folks. $100 off. It's a big deal. We want you there. We want you to experience what some of these other people have experienced. Emotional freedom there's a lot that goes into that. It doesn't matter what your struggle is, what you're stuck in. You can get help at this workshop. And here's what a lady said that I recently attended. I attended this workshop to learn how to find freedom from my current struggles that stem from past strongholds of guilt, feelings of inferiority, and enabling behaviors that have controlled my life. I learned by going through this program about the negative reactive thoughts and emotions I needed to identify and challenge, the mindset and beliefs to now embrace, the behaviors I needed to change, and the steps I need to now take to transform my life and truly find freedom. So what can you say when you hear that somebody goes and spends a day online and they find a life that's different? And it's not solved and pure and perfect, but they know the direction to go. They know what they have to do, and they'll get help. We have aftercare programs to help with that. So please sign up, and ladies and gentlemen, please support this ministry so we can keep doing what we've been doing for going on 34 years now. And it's being blessed by God. The Holy Spirit's doing work through what we offer, and it's really worth the support. So we would love it if you could join Club New Life. If you would make your first gift, that'd be great. If you're a regular giver or have given once or twice before, make another gift. We just need help from all sources, and we'd appreciate if you would be one of those. So thank you.
Right. And in the month of April, if you give a gift of any amount, we're going to send you the Heart Handbook, your guide to getting back to the basics of love by Laura Mangin McDonald. She's one of our speakers at Restore, but it's not just for women, it's for anyone who really wants to understand what has broken that love in your heart, and how do I heal and how do I get forward in my life. And she uses scripture as well as counseling and psychological constructs that will make a difference. And it's all yours for a gift of any amount, just to say thank you. Right now, we're going to go. Thanks, Larry. Thank you. And right now, we're going to go back to the phones, and we're going to talk to Alex, who's calling us from Trenton, New Jersey, listens online, and we're glad you called. How can we help you, Alex?
Yes, I would. My question is, how can I make my marriage work? How can I make my marriage better? Basically, I need help with my marriage.
Okay.
Got married last November. I'm in a blended family. I have two daughters of my own. My wife doesn't have any kids. We've attended counseling jointly twice already. The first counselor, I guess my wife didn't connect it with. And the second counselor, she had suggested to do individual counseling, as well. And it's been, we have not been communicating, arguing constantly over nothing. It's not healthy. We have friends that are a great support for us, that have been counseling us as well, but it's just I'm at a loss right now.
Okay, well, Alex, you can hear the music. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back, but you're asking a great question, and it can be challenging in a new relationship as well as blended family, but it's not impossible. I think you're on the right track. I like that you're asking the questions, but boy, it can feel like an uphill battle, but we'll be right back and help you with that battle.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We're so glad you joined us today, and we're talking with Alex, who is a newlywed, and all is not happy in newly married land. But Alex, we got some more questions just to help clarify how we can help you. I think, Jill, you want to start?
Well, yeah, we had several questions, Alex. So first of all, you've been married before. You have 2 kids. Has your wife been married before?
Yes, this is both our second marriage.
Okay, second marriage. And then how old are your daughters?
My daughter's 15 and the other one is 10.
Okay.
15 and 10.
Okay, 10 and 15. And then was any of this going on prior to marriage?
to the wedding?
Any of the difficulties?
No. Actually, so when my first marriage ended, my current wife, my wife now, she kept asking me, why did I get divorced? Why did I get divorced? And at the time, I kept telling her because it just didn't work out. We weren't compatible. So as time went by, we moved closer to buying a house. It was like 1 week prior to the closing. She had asked me again, and I guess over an argument, I told her that I had flirted with another woman, and my ex-wife didn't take that very well, and that's how it all ended. So my wife felt that I lied to her, and that it was a devastating news. She was just finding out now 1 week prior to us closing, the house, and it's just been like an uphill battle, like from here on, because there's like more issues as well.
So the more issues, does she have? When you said that there's, it gets bad and there's like arguments and blow-ups, are you both engaged in that blowing up, or does one of you tend to get more heated than the other?
I believe it's from both parts. Yes, I sometimes I have a little anger, but most of our arguments are just like small stuff where we can't just agree on things.
When you say small stuff, do you mean that it's not that you look at it and you're like, that's not that big a deal, but she's flipping out?
Sometimes, yes.
And then in reverse, is it maybe possible that sometimes you're flipping out over something she doesn't think is that big of a deal?
Oh, absolutely. I agree on that as well.
Well, and as people start to have conflicts, Alex, they really start to polarize, and instead of being supportive of one another and hearing one another, they move into a position or posture of protection. Because it's like, okay, you're not hearing me. And so now I have to make my case for myself. And people dig their heels in. And so I think for you to be aware of that, if that's happening, and to try to shift that dynamic, to really take the time, instead of needing to make your point or why you think something's right, to really hear her, listen to what she's saying, and even reflect it back to her and make sure you've gotten it right. Because until she feels heard, right, things aren't going to move forward, and she's not going to hear you.
And that's the kind of the pattern you guys started out with. She asked you a question. The answer to that question was important to her. You didn't think it was that big a deal. You learned that it was a huge deal. So going forward, don't minimize what you think is not that big a deal or something small and minor. It may be something huge to her, and because you don't take it as seriously as she does, she doesn't feel seen, known, cared for.
She doesn't trust you then.
Right? So then she doesn't trust you.
Because of your response more than
the thing, whatever thing
yeah.
is. So when there is an issue, take it seriously, even if you don't think it's that big a deal, because she's bringing it up. That's your evidence that it matters to her. And so for your part, just mirror back what she's saying. And if she asks you a question, I always say, why lie when the truth will do? Just answer the question. Just answer the question.
Yeah, don't get defensive.
Just answer the question. And then if she has more questions, just clarify. But if you are being, I don't know what the word is, evasive, mysterious, defensive, all of those things say you did something wrong or that you don't really value her opinion. If you can mirror back what she's saying, even if she's frustrated and she's ranting at you, mirror it back. Here's what I hear you saying. Okay, did I understand that correctly? Did I get that right? Okay, I can see, and validating is not agreeing. You don't have to agree with someone to validate. But validation is, I understood the words that came out of your mouth. They make sense to me if I look at it from your perspective, and then empathize. So mirror, validate, empathize. Mirror back what she says, that's active listening. Validate what she is concerned about, and empathize. That must make you feel. And then that's a way of connecting. And it's a great way to eliminate or to manage conflict. It doesn't eliminate.
Because we can always say, wow, if that's the way you see it, I can understand how you would feel upset.
And that's hard to do when you're the thing that she's complaining about. I understand that.
And so, and you're going to need help with this, Alex, because it's going to come naturally to you. Obviously, this is how this all started. And you need to get your marriage reset so that the rest of this time it's not like a snowball gathering. And we have therapists that, you know, when we do our intimacy and marriage workshop, which I would encourage you to bring her to Washington, D.C. in July, we teach people, we teach couples how to have these kind of conversations. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love. And I think that will get you, if you look at the comfort circle in there, it'll give you some parameters. But I also think it would be good to connect you with a therapist that is familiar with that work, because the reason why your wife probably is frustrated with the whole thing is now everything's in question. You know, it's just like what Jacqui and Jill said, you know, and you didn't think it was that important, but boy, now I bet you do, don't you? It's just,
and well, he may still, you might still even say, this isn't that big a deal. Why do you get so upset about this? And every time that minimizes what she's experiencing. And so it makes sense.
So to even go back and say, you know what, I realize I've been minimizing how you felt.
And that happens because you're not feeling it.
Yeah.
So to you, it isn't that big a deal, but you're not in her body.
Right.
That sounds like
and
it'll
so
work.
You can
Alex?
always go back and say, I've had new insight about this, right? And say, I realized that I really responded poorly to you, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And then you're modeling that for her to do in return.
And maybe too, if she'll look at the book How We Love, right? I know she was against therapy, so maybe then you could introduce maybe going to the workshop or working with somebody who understands the things in those books. You know,
and they
so a
have
step
some
at a time,
great workshops happening too, Mylan and Kay Yurkovich. So if you go to howwelove.com, there is a lot that goes along with the book that you can access there on the website.
Well, we're glad that you called today, Alex, and we're praying for your new marriage, and I think there's hope there. I know that it can be challenging in this day and age with just so many things that we're doing or experiencing in our life, but just we all need to hold on to the hope that Christ gives us in his resurrection, and know that even in marriage struggles, we can have a new marriage, and we want to help all that we can. So if you heard something then Alex's call that might apply to your marriage, give us a call and we'll get you connected to the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jacqui, for your wisdom. And I hope everyone has a great resurrection weekend and celebrate. Go to church somewhere. Bring somebody with you to church and celebrate Easter. It is worth celebrating. It's bigger than Christmas, I think. I mean, it's just so exciting. But we hope you have a great weekend. God bless you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you. But you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.